It would have been nice to know that I was going to get stuff a week after my birthday. Hi guys, welcome back. Scatlink here, and we're off for part 2 that I was not expecting to make of my What's in the Treasure Chest 28th birthday. Literally a week after my birthday, to the day, I got some extra stuff. You may notice some right now. And I had no idea that these were coming. And it's taken me a week to actually talk about this week, because the week that's just gone, a lot of stuff happened. So there's going to be another little mini news section at the end of this video. But first of all, how about we start with a grab bag, a game bag, but that's not all. Because in the bag is a new headset. Put the bag down there while I cover what I'm wearing. These aren't actually in use right now, but we'll get into those in a minute. Featuring the Lucid Sound LX15X wireless gaming headset, complete with a dongle. So both the bag and this headset were both combination presents from Mama Panda and Panda Man. So the pandas gifted me these, and it was not in conjunction with Lady Lincario, despite the fact that it has been teased that with, you know, the USB hub that I was gifted, which I covered previously, this kind of goes well with that. But that wasn't the reason being, because my headphone jack's a little bit janky on the PC. I could get that sorted out, but I'm not tethered to a cable, which is pretty nifty, and it's really good quality, to the point that, as you can see here, it has a boom microphone attachment that you can remove. So if you were wearing them, you can see it, you've got right here the power button, as well as a little dot there, which is the LED for power. But on the underside here, you can see it, you've got your slot for the boom microphone, a 3.5mm jack cable slot, which you would have to have double-ended to go from this to the PC to use the microphone, not through the USB receiver. Thankfully, that's not a problem, since I'm going to be using my blue Snowball anyway, but the fact that you need to be tethered to a cable to use the microphone's a bit odd, but you don't need it for sound. But as far as I can tell, even if you're charging this through USB to the PC and it does install drivers, you can't hear sound through USB, only charge for power. It's very odd. Also, it looks like Beats with the logo, but these are actually still pretty well made. As you can see, that they are pretty nice and comfy. In fact, my current ones, the ZX Sony 310s, they kind of hurt sometimes a little bit, like if I'm wearing them for a bit too long. But these ones is actually really good, considering that obviously they've got the padded circles, but the microphone automatically passes through into the speakers. In fact, if I hold the button to power it on,
power on, power off.
I had to turn off noise suppression and noise gate so you could hear that, but just by holding the button, it actually tells you if it's powered on and off, which is amazing. And as I mentioned, even if I do not have the microphone set up already on this, while wearing it, you have a dot on the reverse end, roughly around here, which is also a microphone, but it barely picks you up when you're obviously wearing it properly. But the reason being is that you can still hear yourself speaking through this, and here's the best thing about it. Holding this button for 3 seconds will turn that pass-through off. That's not captured by the PC, so whatever you're saying on here will not go to the PC. As I said, you have to have a cable to be plugged in order for the PC to even pick it up in the first place, which is very strange. But it doesn't go through the speakers if it hears you with that on. You can mute it if you hold the button for 3 seconds, and it will tell you, and then you can hold it again to turn it back on. But you can also do game chat balance to audio balance if it's plugged into a controller, like on the back end of a PS4 DualShock 4. You can twist this. That actually moves. I don't know if you can see that very well, but that moves. Yeah, you can kind of see that little bit there. But yeah, it kind of moves so you can control the volume without needing to mess with your PC settings. Same with this one. If you tap this side, it mutes your sound entirely, and then if you can swivel with this around, it turns down the sound that's getting drawn to the headset, so you don't need to balance your audio. Like, you don't need to turn down the PC if it's too loud, you just need to turn this down, and your PC settings are left the same, and you're not blowing yourself out, and you can still hear yourself at the right volume, which you can also change the sensitivity of with this side. so you can hear yourself speak. It is really nifty. So I don't mind so much that I got this because it's a very nice package, and I basically kept the box in the bag because I don't actually know what to do with it. And when I'm not using these just kind of sit on top of my microphone like that, out of the way, because they can't be where I put my other headset because it doesn't actually fit. So, oh, and I wanted to also make mention, thank you for the extra 10 bags of mini eggs. But that's not all that we have today. We have another couple of digital games that I've been gifted. One of these is from Stella Chondrite, which means we're back to the Steam Deck again. Please let me show... Actually, that's not bad, actually. I can show you that. Penny's Big Breakaway. The nice-looking, Sonic-playing-looking indie game that caught both our attentions in the latest indie showcase. And this is before we've hit June, where there's a new Direct coming up. So that's pretty interesting. This game... you know, this was kind of gifted at the right time, actually, because when it hit my birthday, I still actually was just wrapping up Sonic Frontiers. Funnily enough, on the week where everything came up, which I'll be talking about after the next thing I'm going to show you. Because after finishing the main story of Sonic Frontiers, that week rolled by, and then Stella Chondrite gifted this to me, so it was like the perfect opportunity, so that, like, you know, I still got a couple of stories left to do on Freedom Planet 2, I've still got a couple of stories to do on Lunastice, and now I've got this as well, so it's just even more high-speed platforming goodness. Other than that, and being really intrigued of the game itself, I haven't actually started playing it yet, I haven't got round to it yet, and Connor Meza gifted me this, a Metroidvania style game, Animal Well. Now, as far as I can tell by this game, it's very stylized in art, and it's also incredibly small in terms of memory, which is kind of surprising. And yeah, it's very Metroid style as far as I can tell. And he wanted to get me something Metroid related because I like my Metroid. And even though it hasn't been so long since Metroid Dread came along, we're still waiting on Metroid Prime 4, which was announced at the start of the Switch, and now the Switch 2 is basically confirmed. That's news. But yeah, other than that, I've heard some people say that Animal Well is interesting, and as you can see here, I've installed a new plugin here, so it actually tells you how long roughly. In fact, the focus is really working today, although I do need to clear my screen a little bit. It could take up to like 16 hours to complete 100%. Roughly around 8.8 in general, 6.3 if I just go for the main game. So at least I know how long it could take me roughly. And funnily enough, when it comes to prioritizing big games like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom or Hogwarts Legacy, and I've got indie games such as this, I tend to actually prioritize the smaller games first, and then go to the bigger ones again, because I know the big ones are going to be a massive time sink, and I'm just adding games to my backlog, and I need to get through them. And again, the Steam Deck helps out with that. Except, put that back on charge, I need to talk about some news within the last week.
Shion! Thank you.
As I mentioned, I didn't expect to actually be making this video. It's just kind of, you know, unplanned, because obviously, surprise, as well as a last minute little thing, because funnily enough, at the time when it was my birthday, Commander Man mentioned he wanted to get me something for my birthday, but he was on holiday at the time, so when he came back, it was after the birthday, and then it was sent off, and because it was the weekend, it didn't come for the weekend, it ended up being on the Monday, a week later, and that's where the headset came along. But at the start of that week, things started happening. So first of all, Nintendo mentioned that the Nintendo Switch 2 is in fact a thing, but they're not going to make mention of anything, and this was the president, by the way, mentioning that they're not going to say anything in the next Direct, so just a warning, you won't get any information about that. But it will be mentioned within the current fiscal year up to the end, which would normally be in March, which makes sense because that would be the end of the 7th year of the Nintendo Switch's life so far, as well as that would be pretty much when the Switch was launched in 2017 in March, so it's kind of like a nice full circle, and a lot of rumours saying to me that it's going to be backwards compatible, it's strong, there's going to be some enhanced ports similar to how, like, you know, you got the PS4 versions of games and you got the PS5 versions of games which are built to be spec'd with the PS5 and not just enhanced versions or something like that. I mean, I don't even know if you put in the old games and they have the ability to be upgraded and they just run that version similar to what happened with a few PS4 games, like with Final Fantasy VII Remake. You put that in on a PS5, it gives you the PS5 version straight up with the integrated DLC, which is now available on PC, but semantics. You can't put a PS4 Blu-ray into a PC and get that, unfortunately, but you get what I mean. It may have something like that, or it may just run better. Like, it will just run a lot smoother because it has more RAM to work with, or it'll read the GPU as an overclocked older GPU and just run better. It's like when you're emulating games. Like, you play it on the Nintendo 64 and it's a little bit laggy and choppy, but then you play on an emulator and it works fine. Donkey Kong 64 on the Wii U Virtual Consoles is an easy comparison to make because that game was built with the lag in mind on the 64, and since that was eliminated on the Wii U Virtual Console, kind of breaks a bit. So we know that the Switch 2 is a thing, and as I mentioned already, Metroid Prime 4, pretty much the only thing that was even teased because of just a logo with the screw tech line of number 4, the logo of the game. And then halfway through the Switch's life cycle, we then had a complete restart on that, which, funnily enough, reminds me of Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, which we've had to basically be waiting for, and I'm done waiting, so I want to at some point get to that game, but that's kind of going off into something completely different. We're on Pikmin 2 Kaizo. But in terms of other news that we've had so far, out of nowhere, Nintendo 64 recomps are a thing, not decomps like Ship of Arcanian, which is legal, by the way. You just have to provide your own ROM, which you should get by proper means, or at least, you know, ways that are agreeable. That's all I'm saying. But recomps is basically like a direct translation from the original code to C code that PCs run, and then obviously using your PC's hardware to natively run the game. Decomps is deconstructing the original code piece by piece and then rebuilding that to act exactly the same. So it's not like a direct translation, it's all original code that replicates exactly what the game used to do, which is how Ship of Arcania is made, which is why it's more modular and easier to mod. In this case, though, the recomps is just straight up a port with a few bells and whistles to, you know, give it widescreen, to give it interpolated 60 FPS, although the game's logic still runs the same. Same with Ship of Arcanian, but again, that's a decomp, not a recomp. Started there to get it right. To cut a long story short, Majora's Mask now has a PC port, and even though it's bare bones because it's a direct translation, so it is running natively on your PC, it's still 60 frames, it's still widescreen, and they already have D-pad item support for it, which is pretty nifty. And yeah, but other than that, there's going to be ray tracing enabled, which I don't even think Ship of Arcanian has. And I'm saying Ship of Arcanian as that the main port of the PC port for Ocarina of Time. The recomp port may also have OOT in there as well. Randomizer is planned to be a thing. It was made by Wise Guy, which is kind of a funny name for it. I'm probably showing some footage right here, right now, because why not? I know that my webcam's still only 30 frames, and I managed to fix the stutteriness of it way back when, because that was really annoying me way back in the day, because I thought it was something wrong with my webcam. But obviously, I'm in 30 frames because I don't have a 60 frame webcam, but this is, in fact, 60 frames, and I do render my videos in 60. So enjoy that over here somewhere, which is funny because, you know, I recorded my original N64 version because at the time I didn't have a Nintendo Switch expansion pass while doing my Majora's Mask 3D, and not only that, I wanted to show the PAL hardware original in comparison to the 3D remake on original hardware, to show the major differences between the two. But now we have a PC port, so that those shenanigans are kind of a moot point. But it also has gyro aiming, which with the additional 60 frames per second visuals and better controls, as well as, you know, proper analog input, not replicating the N64's inputs on an emulator, which always has problems on emulation, it would make the town shooting gallery so much better. And the third thing, which I am really happy about, Kingdom Hearts 358 Days Over 2 has not a PC port, but is intended to be played on a specific spec'd version of Melon Day-S that basically rolls both screens into one, kind of like what Square Enix have already done for Kingdom Hearts 3D for the HD ports on modern consoles and PC. because there's no two screen things going on there. It was a 3DS game that they made into a single screen experience for HD systems, like a normal game. This specific SKU of Melon DS, known as Melon Mix, gives 358 Days that kind of polish. Like, the main game window is 16 by 9 as long as you set the top screen to that resolution, otherwise it will match the size of your window, which is fine. The 2D elements like the HUD and all that are slightly stretched, but they are also placed at the sides of the screen where you'd expect. The bottom screen's map is in a little radar, similar to how it looks in Kingdom Hearts 2. And anytime that you do have to have both screens on screen for like menus and stuff, it'll go into like a side-by-side 2-page spread. Again, probably showing your footage over here. And yeah, the game runs at 30. This would save so much editing when I actually get to covering this game, because I plan to do this as my next Patreon project, because it is going to be big. Again, it's mostly the weapon combo trees for every single weapon on every gear for every character that, as far as I still know and haven't seen yet, been documented. I want to do that, and it's been, over the years, I've been slowly getting back into working on that, but that is kind of like the big thing for that. But I'm also doing it alongside Chain of Memories because it takes place during that time. So that's kind of the idea. We'll do a bit of this, and then we'll go over there to Chain of Memories, and then we'll hop back over. And again, this just makes it... I mean, obviously you can't do multiplayer, but I wasn't really planning on doing multiplayer anyway. I would just go into mission mode, which is the multiplayer, to get the bonuses, because I can do it all single player anyway. It just means that other people are just playing the mission with you, and you're competing for points. I'm just going to see how many points I get. But regardless of any of that, this is basically trying to give you a PC experience with a traditional controller on 358 Days Over 2 that doesn't have a PC port yet, or even a remake. I know there's a remake in the works by using Kingdom Hearts 2 as a base, considering that a lot of abilities, or at least attacks from weapon combo trees, are derived from both Kingdom Hearts 1 as well as Kingdom Hearts 2, like with the horizontal slash. This is literally the original game, and it also auto-upscales. You don't need to mess with that. It auto-upscales to the resolution of your system's maximum output anyway, despite the size of the window. The only customization you really need to do is bind your controls, especially on the Steam Deck. You have to do it in desktop mode, and have a separate keyboard so you can, and mouse, so you can still navigate. But you just need to bind your controls and maybe have a shortcut button for full screen, because if you set the emulator to open up in full screen, you're kind of locked out if you didn't already set that shortcut. And when you're navigating the menu for the panels, touchscreen doesn't work because it's technically only the top screen. It's just moving the screens around and making certain things show up where it needs to, like when you pause during a mission, it has the progress bar at the bottom. It's amazing on how it does that. You may get some occasional audio stutters when you're in the middle of transitioning from scene to scene, but it all does it in real time. So you can imagine that how I edited Majora's Mask 3D to look like it was on like an actual console sort of experience. That's basically what that's going to be doing for me. It's insane. I love it, and I've been playing it on my Steam Deck because it just feels so good, and I just want to play it on there just to see how it looks, how it runs, and it's basically great. Again, it's just the panels, which is annoying because you have to set your movement, your D-pad movement, to your control stick, and then the D-pad has to be the command menu inputs, which is a little bit confusing because, you know, left and right is basically jump / cancel and attack / accept. Which makes sense because obviously if you press that way, you would go that way in the menu, but when you're in your backpack / items, you have those arrows, and that confuses the heck out of me. But it's the same as it would be if you were holding X in order to use the D-pad to navigate your menu anyway. But this allows you to do that without needing to do anything like that, because it's programmed into the emulator to do that, which is amazing. So it gives you almost a complete experience on that. It would just be nice if you had a touch screen, or if using a DualShock 4 a touchpad, you're able to do that, or maybe that the D-pad doesn't try to act it like multiple different buttons when you're trying to navigate the panel system. It's the only little bit of jank that I have, and you have to use my control stick, your actual D-pad assignment, to move around on that screen. And it's not full 360 movement either, it's still the usual 8-directional movement while walking around, but it still feels more natural, like if you were playing on a 3DS with the circle pad. But yeah, that came out. That's taken me a bit of time to mess about with as well. And that's basically what's been slowing down me editing the only stream of Pikmin 2 Kaiser that we've already done. I need to go back and do that, and I was planning on doing that throughout that week, but then all this started happening while I am working. So you can see how that was a bit of a mess. But hold up! We have yet more information!
What?
This bit's being recorded literally the next day because it's 2 in the morning after I recorded what you have just seen right now, as well as a bit after this particular segment, is the fact that in 2 in the morning, Kingdom Hearts, the entire series, bar Melody of Memory, that is on everything else, 1.5, 2.5, and 2.8, is now on Steam, or coming to Steam, June 13th. Kind of a missed opportunity to make it July 13th, 713, significant numbers, but you know what I mean. To be fair though, that's June 13th, and Summerfest is June 7th, so maybe there's a correlation there. But yes, it's no longer on the Epic Game Store, well, it is still available on the Epic Game Store, but they're coming to Steam now, which means Steam Deck compatibility.
That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
At least there's a high chance that it will be on the Steam Deck, considering that if it's on Steam, they'll make it compatible, so you'll finally have them officially on the go, which, as I'm putting this into this point in the video that we're talking about right now, we were just talking about Kingdom Hearts 358 having a Melon Day-S SKU that makes it like what they did for Kingdom Hearts 3D, which I've already said. This came out of nowhere. I was woken up by my brother, Master Aaron. He's normally up at the late nights, while obviously I'm in bed because I've got work in the morning. And that's why I haven't been able to record this bit of the video, because I did the last of it yesterday, and I was going to edit it today, but I got to record this bit before I even edit it now, because even more information has come out. Kingdom Hearts fans, this is huge, considering that on the Switch, they're cloud only, which means you have to have a constant internet connection, and at that point, you might as well just bring your phone with PlayStation Remote Play with your PS4 copies, because obviously it came out on PS4 as well as PS3. And once again, you would need a constant internet connection just to play the versions that you actually do physically own. And yes, as it's been talked about before, you can put the Epic Game Store versions on your Steam Deck, but the FMV cutscenes on all games, including all the cinematics from 358 and Recoded because they're films, will not play properly. It will just automatically skip to the next point of gameplay. But yes, all games that are available in the collections 1.5, 2.5, 2.8, 3 plus the DLC are all going to be available on Steam, except Melody of Memory. That's the one omission, and I'm not talking about the mobile games like Union Cross as well as Dark Road, because they are technically still downloadable and available on your mobile device, and you could probably put that on your Steam Deck anyway through a Android emulator. I might actually do that, so it's just on there at this point. But again, you can just use a DS emulator to play the original Recoded and 358, but with the Melon Day-S SKU that we've talked about already multiple times now. It just, you know, completes the package that you have both the film and that, and at that point you might as well chuck on the original Chain of Memories as well. You may even be able to play multiplayer if you do like net play connection or something. But this is a big thing. You're also getting a new Keyblade, because every version has to have an exclusive Kingdom Hearts 3 Keyblade for some reason. That means that the PC version in particular has 2 separate SKUs, because if you get it on Epic, you get one, and if you get it on Steam, you get a different one. But it's on PC, so who's to say you can't just mod them all into a single game? The PC version is clearly the best. Plus other mods as well, but who's counting? It could even support the Steam Workshop. Maybe. These games aren't really intended to be modded. They're not like got modding in mind. That's more like just fans being creative. It's not like a Hat in Time where they specifically have a section dedicated to mods. Same with Gmod or Tabletop Simulator or even Golf with Your Friends. Those have a section dedicated for community-based content. Kingdom Hearts isn't really something like that, so it probably won't support it directly, but just like with Among Us back in the day, you could just drop it in the folder, run the executable through Steam, and it will still work as intended. You can already do that with the Epic Game Store versions. I'm pretty sure that the file directories will be basically the same, it's just obviously from a different launcher, and at that point, better compatibility on the Steam Deck, which is the most important thing. In fact, better compatibility in general, because the Steam Deck is Linux-based. I've already mentioned the FMV issues. It could even have a points store, so you can spend your Steam points to get banners for your profile page. Considering that on PS3 and PS4, and I'm pretty sure the PS4 versions on PS5 can give you menu themes, that would basically be the same thing for Steam. And with that, back to the rest of the original video I recorded yesterday. And to add to that, Super Linkario was celebrating her first stream anniversary, her first time streaming on YouTube, not the time that she rebooted. Mine was a channel anniversary on the 7th of May, and that was our 11th, because that was the time that we uploaded our first YouTube proper video, which was the first episode of our Zelda Twilight Princess 100% walkthrough. In this case, this was in celebration of her first live stream done entirely on YouTube, which was during the release of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. For the whole week, she was streaming, at least on 4 days, a Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword randomizer. It's her favourite game, and she wanted to do a randomizer on it, and it was her first randomizer that she did in content. And then for 1 day, she had a party day right before the finale of the randomizer, with a day gap of break in between, and that was a party stream featuring Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario Party Superstars, and Golf with All Your Friends, and I joined for a couple of those as well, so please check those out since they've already happened. And that's basically the entirety of last week. That's basically been since my birthday on the 4th to 1 week later exactly, where I was gifted all this extra stuff, and then throughout that week I haven't even been able to talk about it until now, the next week, because that week was filled with literally everything I just talked about. So you can see how that, despite this being, you know, a shorter video in terms of what I thought it was going to be, I'm still 28 minutes deep. I cannot escape this. So, you know, I'm spoiled. Sometimes it just feels bad, but I can't help it. It's just me being humble, I guess. But yeah, I thank you for all the gifts once again. I do actually use this headset now. This is my main headset, but I don't use the microphone. I still use my Blue Snowball because it is already better quality, and I don't, the whole point is still not to be tethered to a cable, and I don't actually have a long enough 3.5mm cable to go, but double-sided cable to go from the headset to my PC, because when I did have one of those, it was a very short one for my 3DS before I figured out how to enable the USB sound. I had to play it here, and I was recording down here, like on the corner right above my PC. I can't do videos like this. Practically kissing my Steam Deck with that. But with that, guys, I'm not making a part 3. I highly doubt that, since we're near the end of May now. It feels shorter than expected, but I've got a couple of days coming off after I get this done, so maybe I'll do another live stream near the end of this week. But I've got, obviously, Challenge Road 51 of A Hat in Time, which I have recorded. I just now need to edit as well. Then we can get on with, once again, more Pikmin 2 Kaizo. Everything just keeps getting in the way of it, and I can't help that. It just keeps happening. Like, as I said last time, the final network battles when Nintendo Network was shutting down kind of crept up on me, because I was so focused on getting all my existing projects, bar one, out of the way, and then I was like, oh no, it's coming up to this point where we've got barely a month left. I need to get on that. I took a bit of a break. I came back. It hits my birthday, my channel anniversary. I'm here for Pikmin 2 Kaizo, and then this week happens. So it's been a very turbulent week as well, considering that we also had the catastrophe with Sony just being weird, and not in a good way, anti-consumerism, as well as not wanting money. It was a whole fiasco, and then the same thing happened with Microsoft. And meanwhile, Nintendo's like, by the way, next console. Just casually, you know, maybe they just thought like, oh, I think people need reassurance that we're not screwing around. I mean, Nintendo already had it back when the Wii U was going around. You know what happened with Satoru Iwata cutting his wages in 50% during the Wii U's lowest time, so that no one had to lose their jobs or struggle to try and meet demands with video game creation with the stress of maybe losing their jobs. Yeah, I think Microsoft and Sony need to learn about that, but I'm not getting into gaming politics, because what I've just said basically is what happened. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, as well as any more to come. And of course, I've got a little bit more Pikmin 2 Kaizo of the latest live stream before I get to the next one. Hope you stick around for that. Sorry for the delay, and I'll see you guys next time.